Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Namadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. Now we are looking at the Mahavakya Vichara, starting with the Tattvamasi statement, where it's a teacher instructing the student that you are that. Tattvamasi, you are that. The two words are essentially implying one entity, and that's being pointed out by the statement Tattvamasi. So Tat and Tvam. So Tvam refers to the Atma. So you are. So student, the teacher is pointing to the student, you are. So from the point of the student, he says, I am. So I am same as Tat. Tat is that. So what is that? That one way is that what I am longing for. What I am longing for is, as we said, is uninterrupted, inexhaustible, infinite happiness that I want. That's one way of looking at it. That is that which is the scriptural statement is coming from the existence, because the existence alone was there before creation, and existence itself became many, and you are that. So that's how the teaching of the Chandogya is, because it's from the Satvidya, where the Uddalaka starts teaching, says Eka Vidyanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. Knowing one thing, you can know everything. And when the student says it's not possible, because if I know chemistry, I won't know biology. I wish I know, but only I know chemistry only, but there are so many other subjects, and even chemistry also there is so many the other subjects inside organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, physical chemistry, and go on and on. If the more deeper I go, the more branches are opening up only, and knowing one thing, I don't know even other things also. So therefore, here is a statement, says, how can that be possible? Knowing one thing, how can I know everything? And that's not possible, the student claims, but the teacher says, it is possible. One can have the essential knowledge if I know one thing, provided the one I know is the Upadana Karanam. That means it is the material cause, it is the Dravyam, and Dravyam is being used the word by all other acharyas, and they have different dravyas and so on, defined in terms of number of dravyas and so on in the Visishtadvaita, according to in the Dvaita and other philosophical Nyaya and so on. They have different categories that are being defined. From the Advaita point, it follows the scriptural statement. What is the Dravyam? Dravyam is only one, and that is what scripture says. What was there before? That is Sat, which is itself is the Dravyam for projecting everything else. It's not a material Dravyam, it's not something from which one is a tangible, but that is pure existence itself, and that became many, and that's what the scripture says. So the essence of that, if I know that it's called Upadana Karana, material cause, that's how the Mundaka Upanishad says that it became many. Yatha somya ekena lohamanna sarvam lohamayam vigyata, just as the gold becoming in many. So he gives examples of one becoming many. So knowing one, I know everything in a sense. Be careful, not the details, but in a sense, if I know the gold, I know the essence of all gold ornaments. I may not know the individual attributes of this ring versus that ring and so on and so forth, but I have the substantive knowledge. Substantive knowledge means knowledge of the noun. In English, is substantive is noun. Noun is that because of which it is, without which it cannot be. So we use the ring as a noun, but ring has no substance. That's why we said there is a padam, but there is no padartham. What is padartham is the essence from which it came, and that's called the real knowledge. Other things are only artificial knowledge or superficial knowledge. So in the Dvaita literature, says pramana is yadhartham pramanam. That's how the Madhvacharya defines. Yadhartham means that essence of the knowledge is the of the padam, is the padartham. But unfortunately, the pramana by perception and all that cannot operate to know what is the yadhartham. The yadhartham is that from which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. That is the yadhartham. That is the essence, and that essence sat cannot be known by any pramana other than even Vedanta pramana. It's only pointing in the direction, and that's what being explained here in the next sloka. It is lakshyartha and not vachyartham. We take the sloka 244. Aikyam tayo lakshitayo na vachyayoho. Aikyam tayoho lakshitayoho na vachyayoho. Negajyate nyonya viruddha dharminoho. Negajyate nyonya viruddha dharminoho. Khajjota bhanvoravir rajabhrutchayoho. Khajjota bhanvoravi rajabhrutchayoho. Kupamburasyoho paramanu mervoho. Kupamburasyoho paramanu mervoho. So aikyam tayoho, this aikyam, the ekatvam, that means oneness that is being pointed out between what? Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is padabhyam. That's what we did in the previous sloka. It says ekattvameva pratipadyate. The Shruti is trying to point out oneness in the tattva and tvam. There are two words, but what is implied or what is essence of is because both came from the same, sustained by the same, and they go back into the same. That is the upadana karanam, and therefore that is the very material cause for the whole universe, and therefore from the point of Advaita as well as even Visishtadvaita, Brahman is not only the intelligent cause, but it is the material cause. That's how the Brahma Sutra start defining Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now, therefore, inquire into the nature of Brahman. But what is the Brahman? Janma Jasya Yadaha. So it uses the scriptural statement of the Taittiriya Upanishads, Janma Adi. Janma, that means the Sushti, Sthiti, Laya. Adi includes all the three, and that's because of which is due to Brahman. And therefore, what is the nature of Brahman? That because of which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained, and into which goes back. Therefore, it uses the Brahma Sutra, uses the very Upadana Karanam for the definition of Brahman, although even though it is Tatastha Lakshanam, because from Brahman there is no creation also. Brahman doesn't become anything. To become something, only finite can become something. Therefore, Brahman cannot become anything. So, but therefore, it apparently becoming something. It's a transformation, less transformation. There is a transformation, but it's only apparent transformation, but not really transformation. How do you say that? That's what scripture itself says. Itself says in the same Upanishad, it says, Yatha Saumya Ekena Lohamanna Sarvam Lohamayam Vigyata Vacharam Manam Vikaro Namadheyam Lohamicheva Satyam Yatha Saumya Ekena essence is nothing but the wrought iron. All mud pots are, essence is nothing but the mud only, clay only. All gold ornaments are nothing but gold only. This is transformationless transformation, because gold is not transforming into something. It is not a parinamam. That means like a milk becoming into yogurt, where there is a destruction of the milk and coming and in the generation of the yogurt. I cannot go back. It's an irreversible transformation. Whereas here is neither reversible nor irreversible, but it is transformationless transformation. Gold remains as a gold, still appearing as many. Same way, what was there before creation? Sadeva Saumya Idamagramasi. Existence alone was there before creation, and it appears to become many, and that's what is called Vivarta. Therefore, it is Brahman still at the same time appearing as varieties of same, just as the Mundakopanishad says, Yata Pruthivyam Oshadayaha, from the Pruthivi, from the earth, all different varieties of the plants and vegetables, etc. Even though one source, I can get varieties and different. Each flower is different, each plant is different, each vegetables are different. There are eatables and non-eatables. All that varieties and varieties of names and forms coming from only one source. Same way, one source giving varieties of the whole creation itself. 14 lokas of total lokas, and in every loka there are varieties of creations of all that is possible just from that. Therefore, it is a transformation. So, Yathartham Pramanam, when the Vaida philosophy says that, at the same time they do not accept Brahman as Upadana Karanam, then what is Yathartham there? There is no Yathartham itself. If I don't accept the Brahman is the material cause. Therefore, the Brahman himself is the material cause, as the scripture says, because Sadeva, from which what was there before, and Tadaikshada Bahusyam Tada, it became many. And therefore, many is coming from the Upadana Karanam, the material cause. So knowing that is everything else is there. So whatever the differences of Tat and Tvam, so Aikyatayoho, Lakshitayoho, Navachayoho. When you say Tat Tvamasi, say you are that. So how can I be that? I am a local entity, I am a finite entity with a small body and mind, intellect, and my knowledge is very limited, and that Ishvara is Jagat Karanam, is the whole cause for the whole entire universe, he is Sarvajnaha, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvayapakan, all that is glorified. And what Ramanuja says is Ananta Kalyana Gunashrayam, he is the embodiment of infinite auspicious qualities, and that Ishvara, how can I equate you are that, because Ishvara is everything and I am only tiny one, and how can this be possible? So Aikyatayoho, so Navachayo, so this equation is not valid as it appears. As the word meaning appears, I cannot apply this equation. Therefore, equation is invalid from the Vachyartham. Vachya means Padartham. From the point of word meaning wise, this equation is not valid. Therefore, it is not possible to use, since it's a scriptural statement. So it is not that I can dismiss it since the scripture is equating. So I had to use now a Lakshana Vakyam. So I had to use an indicative definitions. That means I had to modify or clearly understand what exactly the equal here, and that part only I had to equate, and that's what being emphasized here. Aikyam tayoho, lakshitayoho, navachayoho, nigaddate nyonya viruddha darshinoho. So this anyonya viruddha darshinoho, whatever I am saying is the viruddham, completely opposite attributes of this I am, and that which is equal to the whole universe is nothing but the Ishvara itself. So how can I be Ishvara? So this is a blasphemy. A lot of people say this is a blasphemy. You are a God. Says I am not God, because there are viruddhas darshinoho. They are completely opposite attributes. Therefore, this equation is not valid at the vachyartham, at the superficial, at the level of the words. You cannot equate it. I have to go deeper and see what part is really equatable and what part is not. Here he gives 3 examples to indicate that inequality is being implied. Khajjota bhanvo ravi. So Khajjotam is essentially firefly, that small tiny fly. In the night times we see suddenly the light is coming out, and that firefly, and sees the light of the firefly is same as the light of the sunlight. If she is Ravi, Ravi is the sun. So if I say you are that, so we are equating the Kajyota and Ravi, since they are two same. So obviously the firefly, which is small, tiny one, and the bright, brilliant sun, I cannot equate it. And therefore that equation is Viruddha Dharshinoho. So Anyonya Viruddham, completely opposite attributes of the object. So since the knowledge is only attributive knowledge, I have to ignore that and reject that Vachyartham. Raja Bhrutyayoho. The second example is like the king and the servant. King is the, or emperor is the one who is all powerful, and he is a servant, he is essentially the Bhrutyaha. So if I say king is the same as the servant, so in what respect the servant and the king are one identity, because everything that I see is completely contradictory. There is no equation. So Vachyartham cannot be applied. And the third example is Kupamburasyoho. Amburasyoho. This is small pot is same as the ocean there. So if I equate a small pot and the ocean, the equation is not really valid based on the attributes of the small pot versus the attributes of the ocean. Similarly, Paramanu and Mervoho. So Paramanu, the tiny atom, and Mervoho, the Meru Parvatam. So one is the Meru, the majestic, the mountain of Meru, and I'm equating the Paramanu is tiny atom. If the equation is provided by the Shastram, says I had to reject the Vachyartham, the literally meaning. Literally meaning is word by word meaning. I had to reject it and only take that part that can be equated, and that's what is called Lakshana. Lakshana means indicatory definition, indicating something which Vachyartham cannot show, but something that is in the, since this is a scriptural statement is absolutely true at that level, so I had to use some Lakshana in order to see what exactly scripture is pointing out in the equation of Tattvamasi. That has to be understood here, and that's what being saying that it says you do not use Vachyartha. So therefore you do not use the word meaning to equate these two, because the word meaning completely cannot be. Therefore, so Viruddha Dharminoho. So Anyonya Viruddham is completely opposite to each other. Therefore you cannot. So therefore Madhvacharya interprets this statement, instead of equating, he says what this statement is only unequal statement. Instead of Tattvamasi, he says Atattvamasi Svetaketu. You are not that. So the scripture is telling you 9 times you are not that. So I don't need a scripture to know that I am not that. That's why Pramana is defined as per the Advaita Vedanta is Anadigata, Abhadita, Arthavishaya Jnanatvam. Anadigata means it cannot be known by any other way. That means I need a scripture to know. It is a Prabala Pramanam. So if I know that without even going to scriptures, I know that I am not that, because I know I am very tiny and the Ishvara is infinite. So how can I equate? That much I know even without going to the scriptures. So then scripture is only pramana to say something that I don't know by any other way. And for that only pramana is. And the scripture being a pramana, so I don't need Atattvamasi statement from the scripture. That too 9 times it is repeated. Therefore that's not valid application of the Tattvamasi statement. So it cannot be said Atattvamasi and then give 9 times repeating the same thing. And therefore both the Ramanuja as well as the Shankara interprets as Tattvamasi only, but each interpretation is different and each use different Lakshana Vakyas in order to validate it. This we go into the details in the next talk. With this we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.